Okay. We'll call this meeting of February 28th to order. Roll call, please.
Williams?
Yes.
Hay?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
First item is presentation, Parks and Recreation Department update. Mr. Fleck.
Yes, Your Honor. This is the time that we do departmental updates. Last month we had finance. This month is Parks and Recreation. So, Chad Shoemaker.
Good evening. I'll try to keep Rita awake. She's already complaining.
Nightlife.
I don't think this is my phone.
We haven't kind of run over Parks Department staff functions for quite a while. Bruce thought it would be a good idea for us to run through it tonight. The Parks Department employs approximately 10 full-time staff in parks. They're responsible for better than 500 acres of park grounds, a fair amount of which is lakes and undeveloped, about 220 developed acres that we mow every week, around 42 structures, and of course a multitude of service type tasks such as keeping the trash cans emptied and cleaning up deer that have been hit on the road. There's a whole host of stuff that happens on a daily basis that they have to keep up after. The pool is obviously all part-time staff since it runs in the summer only, and a lot of times we'd put up how many part-time people we hire, but that number really doesn't mean a whole lot as far as what our costs are, so that pool staff basically ends up being about 2.6 full-time equivalents. If you're thinking about how much staff it takes to run that. Now, obviously, Parks full-time staff has a lot of interaction with that also because they have to take care of the actual machinery. My Parks full-time staff has 2 aquatic facility operators that make sure that we do a good job of maintaining chemical levels and sanitation needs. Cemetery has 2 full-time staff for a 46-acre cemetery. Obviously, we spend a fair amount of parks worker time there also. Those 2 full-time people in the summertime really don't manage to get a whole lot more done than get the mowing done. To get weed eating done also, it takes everybody that's under my department banner to get that done. Park staff also are in the weekend rotation for doing funerals because obviously if 2 people are working all day during the week, they can't work every Saturday and Sunday. So brush yard forestry, we have 1 full-time staff person there. Jay Eicher's predominant job during the summertime, which is coming up this coming Wednesday. We'll open the brush yard for summer hours again. During the winter, he does a lot of forestry function work, cuts down trees in the parks, other city properties. Jay is available to Public Works pretty much year-round as far as if Kenzie or Drew needs assistance with a removal project and it's within our equipment and our ability to get it down. All of these staff except forestry are involved in downtown snow removal. Somebody's got to get the snow off the sidewalks to Kenzie's folks to be able to push it around the road. So those people work outside in some pretty awful weather sometimes. If you see them out there doing that, please treat them kindly and thank them because that means a lot to them when people recognize what they're doing out there. And then, of course, we have a certain amount of public properties maintenance, grounds around City Hall, various and sundry small parcels of property that the city owns, like the triangle by the post office, and things that, frankly, if other than us mowing them, probably nobody even knows we have them. But there's a fair amount of that. So that's in a nutshell. That's what we do all year. So on to things that are more at a council level policy kind of thing. As you know, we've been talking about a dog park and off-leash area for a long period of time. I want to say the first time that we brought that concept in front of the council was probably around 2011, 2010, somewhere in there. We weren't quite ready for the concept yet at that point in time. A lot of people didn't understand what a dog park was locally yet, and it had a very short-lived consideration before it got shut down. So we are planning on doing a public meeting for this dog park design for a number of reasons. We don't always do a public meeting before we embark on a new park project, but in this particular case, there's a whole lot of different people that have a whole lot of different wants. There's all kinds of different levels of service that this can provide. There's all kinds of different places in the city it can go. There are neighbors that would like to have it behind their house. There's neighbors that wouldn't want to have it behind their house. There are other park users in the Northeast Park area where we're proposing to do this, say for instance the disc golfers. So we really feel like we need to have this public venue to make sure we know how the public feels about this concept that we're proposing. The Humane Society is an active participant in our current planning effort. This has been a bit of a job, all of us getting around on the same page, but I think we're finally there, so we're ready to move forward with this, I believe. What we are proposing currently is an off-leash area in Northeast Park with a small oval paddock for small dogs. That's not a normal traditional dog park, what you're thinking. It's a bit of a hybrid design, but because we've already experienced a certain amount of what I want to call pushback or not in my backyard type, replies to this concept, working with the Humane Society, came up with kind of the idea of, look, we need to get some dogs on the ground somewhere so people see how dogs and dog owners react, that it's not noisy, that it's not a smell problem, so that we can get this concept working with a neighborhood. And then once we have that done, our goal would be in the long run to actually do a full dog park structure at some point in the future, probably 2.5-acre paddocks that can rotate, that kind of thing. It's important to note when you're talking to people about this that dog parks are primarily built to provide owners a place to recreate with their dogs. They're not completely designed to run with the dogs themselves. A lot of the elements that are in place are things that allow owners to go out to use an area to exercise with their dog, or for their dog to exercise, or for them to play with their dog, that they might not have that kind of space in their yard. Like say, for instance, you've got a small yard and you've got a black lab puppy that really loves to chase a ball, and you don't have enough room in your neighborhood without him running all over your neighbor's yards and stuff, and you want a place to do that. Well, right now, those people are using other park areas, and that creates a lot of user conflicts because some people are, frankly, afraid of dogs. Some people don't want dogs getting their muddy feet on them. Some people just don't like dogs, right? So without segregating a spot for people to engage in these kinds of behaviors, we're going to continue to generate quite a few negative user reactions from people that have one set of wants and expectations and people that have another set of wants and expectations. So and that's that fifth bullet you see there, where trail users often have a user conflict, and we don't provide a place for people to legally engage in those other activities. When you think about how many people you know that have dogs and how many people you know that spend a lot of money on their dogs, you can imagine how much comment I get when I'm out at a chamber dinner or whatever as to, when are we going to do this? When are we going to have a place where we can do these things? So the reason I'm bringing this up early and talking to you guys right off the cuff is that creation of an off-leash area is going to require council action, because our current city code in section 364 requires you to have your dog on a leash of not more than 10 feet. And, Rita, correct me, I think it says they have to be under your control also, right? Yeah. And so basically what we would do is we would define an off-leash area that would be in this park, that would be posted as an off-leash area, that would be an exemption to that particular rule section. So the reason I'm talking to you guys now about it is that I want you to have time to think about it and talk to constituents, and Bruce needs time to make sure that he's verified with, city attorneys that this doesn't create a special problem with this for us. Now, there are lots of people that have these areas in their cities, In a keystone of the posting for all these areas is that owners are responsible for having their dogs under their control at all times. And under our recreational use statutes in Missouri, when people choose to enter an area that's clearly posted with the possible dangers to them and their property, and they choose to go in anyway, they assume the majority of that risk under recreational use statutes, unless we're negligent. So, say for instance, the sign's not clear, or we know somebody is using this all the time that has a rabid, vicious dog, and we don't do anything about it. This kind of thing. Or we fail to repost the sign when the sign falls down, right? So it's a relatively small area, small thing, but there are real consequences to creating the situation in the code. I have not been able to find a whole lot in the park journal literature as far as people having problems with dogs hurting other people or any of these kinds of things. There has been some problems in certain parts of the country with dogs hurting other dogs. This is the reason why we want to have that small dog paddock in there, so that dogs probably be under 35 pounds can use that space. Interestingly enough, the vast majority of those issues come about with small dogs trying to be aggressive to big dogs. Not the other way around. The big dog gets angry and upset and takes action, and all of a sudden somebody's small dog is in a bad way. So when we sign this, we'll certainly encourage small dog users to use that area set aside for this, but I don't know that we can require them to do that. So let's talk about a water slide at the pool. It was really exciting.
Wait.
Yes, I'm sorry.
When are you talking about starting these public meetings on
I
that?
think March 30th is the first.
You may have said, but I didn't catch it.
Yeah, March 30th. Here at 6 p.m. in the council chambers.
Why Northeast Park?
We have a pretty heavy contingent of off-leash dog users at Northeast Park currently. It's a large enough area where you can put the animals out on the landscape and not have to worry about disease concentration in those kinds of items. And if we can segregate the small dogs, we think that we'll have relatively few problems there, the way these things are usually designed. We will have to fence our border on the south edge of the park, but a fair amount of that border's already fenced from neighbors' backyards. So it's an opportunity kind of selection. We already have a lot of users that use that park. Right now they're using it illegally, so we have a couple other areas where we also have a fair number of users, but they are a lot closer to a greater number of roofs, and with the open nature of this and the nice tall canopy of trees around three sides of it, if there is any noise abatement that needs to be done, that area should probably do a good job of doing it. Is that fair? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about proposed water slide plan for fundraising. So when we finished the pool, I think this was I know I had quite a bit of discussion that it would be great to have a water slide, and I think everybody's pretty well aware that we plan to develop a plan to do this. These are actual drawings for our facility. We are really, really close to having a price tag number on it that the vendor will guarantee. Since we had this in our original plan to pipe for it and all the mechanicals and everything, we have worked with the existing vendor that built the pool for us to do it as a continuation project of that project. If you, so let me get here. If you look here, this is a double slide. These are runouts. This would be Adams Street along here. Here's the 6-lane pool. There's the mechanical building. Right now, this is the stairway up into this structure. One of the things that has slowed us down is there's a light pole right about there, and we're going to have to build around the light pole. So that particular slide turn is going to have to be a covered one, and it just complicated things. We have, we built for this to happen in the future, so we have lines that run from this site in the building back around over here, and then we have lines that run into the pool for the drain returns already in existence, or it would be far more expensive for us to do this. We're probably knocking $150,000 off there. So this is the boring drawing looking slide. There's some additional shade here. There's a little additional deck space to be able to build this, because we've got to come over into this area to hook up to those pipes anyway. So we're going to have to build some of this deck anyway. At that point, it became pretty much no-brainer to just add a few more feet. This is what it looked like. This is very close to the actual system that we're looking at. I think instead of being 1910, the one we're looking at right now currently is 18, so it'd be just a hair shorter than this. But basically, you're looking at two pretty large run-out slides. The reason that it's a run-out slide is that we really don't have to have a lifeguard on this end. So we can run this with a single lifeguard, basically. Now that does increase our cost of operating the pool a little bit, but as far as keeping our numbers up and providing some wow effect when people drive in to see the facility, we think this will do a good job of maintaining our numbers for into the future, and give us the ability to call it an aquatic center, keep our heads up high, so that as we go to advertise it in the region, we got a little something that's got some wow factor to bring people from other communities. That said, we drew people from a long way away this last summer. I was really shocked, frankly, with how far people came to come to the new facility. I would say we weren't surprised to see somebody if we talked to somebody that's more than 3 or 4 or 5 counties distant on a pretty regular basis, and there was even some people that stopped through, transiting from out of state. So I was just shocked at that, frankly. Needless to say, sales were really good last year. We beat all of our numbers, so I feel like we made a good investment at this point. This is something we'll obviously talk to you about in detail during the budget sessions this year. But I want to make sure that you guys have a heads up and know what's coming, so we don't shock you too much there. So Kiwanis Lake, I'm sure all of you know Kiwanis Lake has some serious nutrient issues. We have worked on this thing, and we just keep falling further behind the nutrient load. We don't have any tools left in our toolkit that are big enough to deal with this level of nutrient load. So we got a grant from the Green Foundation for having an engineer come in and look at it and do nutrient sampling the lake bed, and developing potential plans for dredging volumes, stormwater planning, nutrient mitigation. What can we do with this thing so that we actually have a set of signed, stamped, aquatically engineered plans that if we go to spend money on this thing, we know we're actually fixing it. There's a lot of things we could do without having done this, but we could waste a whole lot of money every year on this for a long, long time and never get this fixed. So the amount of nutrient coming in, quite frankly, if we reduced it by half, we'd see very little effect. If we reduced it by 75%, we'd still have a lot of problems. So all kinds of things are on the deck with this, just so you know, everything from bypassing some of the stormwater flow from this west neighborhood to alum treatments to, building a wetland on the south end of the lake so that these nutrients get, sucked up by cattails, or there's a whole lot of things. We basically told them everything's on the table. You guys look at it, you tell us what will really fix this and fix it permanently. So that's going on. We are negotiating a service agreement with the engineering surveys and services. We gave them the go-ahead to start developing scopes of fees this week. Thank you to Roger and Kenzie for reading all of those RFQs with me. That's a thankless task. So other park projects going on. We've been working with engineering on the Lakeview Dam renovation. That's out to contract, and we had a pre-construction meeting with the contractor the other day. We still have these park map monuments, the big granite stones coming. I got a call from the guy last Thursday that they have reached the U.S. And they're at a port. So they've been here once. 2 of them came in broken, so they remade all 3 of them. Hopefully we'll have 3 good ones by the time we unpack them this time. If you've noticed the entrance signs going up on the parks, we're still fabricating additional entrance signs. We've bought enough steel to finish the whole system at this point. Needless to say, we've spent a little more time removing snow this winter than we wanted to, so we're not quite as far along as we'd like to be at this point, but it's one of those slow but steady things. The vehicle lane 2 at the maintenance center, we're going to be getting those supplies bought sometime soon here, and then staff will put that together to try to save some money. The News Park Special Event Trailer is here. It's purchased. Seth is working on getting the graphics put on it, and you'll see it sitting out here, just to warn you, and it'll have big lettering on it along the top that says Park Special Event Trailer. We will be taking that to site before special events with the needed items for the special event loaded in it, so that it can help us advertise special events in the parks when they're coming up. It saves us having to load and unload sound equipment for the council, for the concerts over and over and over all summer, which really burned up quite a bit of manpower. So that's one project that should pay for itself. You're going to see roofs coming off some of the restrooms because we need to replace some roofs and soffits on some of the oldest restrooms that we built when I first got here, because they are getting to be about 20 years old. So, and I will say this, that design had a flat roof. The roofs that we have on the newer restrooms are pitched roofs with a center pitch, center crown, so they're going to last a lot longer than these flat roofs did. We will be increasing the pitch on these flat roofs as they get rebuilt. And then, of course, we've always got trail repairs to do. That'll be ongoing, probably somewhat permanently. Operations issues we've got going on. We certainly have some upcoming retirements, just like almost every other department, I think. Limited part-time employee availability is really killing us in the summertime. I don't know if any of you guys have tried to hire people part-time lately, but man, it's a long, tall slope to climb to get people to do stuff like dumping trash and weed eating on a part-time basis. There's a lot better part-time jobs out there. We have really developed a serious issue of being able to fill those particular positions. The skill set availability and applicants, we felt like we got really lucky in the last 2 or 3 people we hired. We got exactly what we wanted, but if we had gone to the second or third people in that hiring class, we wouldn't have gotten what we wanted. So when I first started doing this, we'd get 5, 6, 7 applicants, people that grew up on a farm that could do all the things that we wanted to do. That day is just gone. Those people are getting snapped up by everybody at this point in time, and we're having a hard time competing for them. Succession planning, we've been talking with Bruce about a possible staff reorganization. The reality is Brad has pretty much told us that, we're going to get a couple more winners, and then we're going to be looking for a superintendent. And you can see how gray my beard is. So, we're getting to that point where, we lost Brooke to the Y, and we were happy to lose her to the Y, because that's a very important partner for us, and I'm very happy to see them have a really high-quality, good leadership person there now. But we still have got some issues that we're going to have to cover as far as filling our jobs down the road as they become open. And then this is a sad thing to say, but public cooperation issues are really starting to become a problem. 15, 20 years ago, if I went by Saturday morning soccer and I nicely said to somebody, hey, would you please not park on the grass? You know, you're tearing up the ground that I got to send people out to fix that. People go, oh, I'm sorry, and they'd move their car. That doesn't happen anymore. About 50 to 75% of people go like, well, who are you to tell me what to do? Or just flat say no. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of class status relationship to this. It's everybody. I don't know if they're tired of people telling them what to do or what, but it's become a real issue, and I suspect it will become more and more of an issue as time passes. Budget concerns, we're making the pool payment. It digs into the ability to do certain things capital-wise at times. The good news is that we've got the internet use sales tax now, and Bruce and Roger do a great job of working with us to help us out. But it's just something that I'd like the council to keep in their mind, is that we are putting that out every year, and that does affect what we have to do other things. Increasing healthcare and insurance costs continue to kill us, just like every other person that pays those. Increasing minimum wage is creating wage pressure. I've already lost one person to some wages. I think I've got a second one going out the door in the next month or two. And we've spent a lot of time and effort building skill sets in these people, and then because we teach them, if they don't know how when they get here, we teach them how to weld, we teach them how to do flat work, we teach them how to do electrical, we teach them how to do plumbing. So we're creating fairly valuable employees, and when somebody else dangles more money in front of them, we can't blame them for taking it, but it is becoming an issue. Parts costs going up. This has been going on for 5 or 6 years before inflation even got here. A lot of manufacturers now are looking to make their earnings off of the parts they sell you on the equipment, instead of actually manufacturing a piece of equipment that doesn't need parts. Inflating material costs is a huge problem. If we're trying to put in electrical now, a 3-inch stick of conduit cost us 3 times what it cost us 2 years ago, basically, and that has not come back down. Purchasing availability of key parts and equipment. We were really lucky to get a truck bought this year because the state bid was already closed on the kinds of trucks that we were looking for. So those are issues that we're fighting, just so you're aware of it. So talk a little bit about cemetery. I usually don't talk to you a lot about cemetery. There have been a lot of things going on at the cemetery for the last year or two, so it's probably time to talk about some of it. We started doing cemetery road replacements in 2009. We have 2 roads left to do in Block B now. So basically, with the help of Kenzie's staff and borrowing equipment from them, and my guys working on this, year over year, we've built almost 4.8 miles of roads at the cemetery. These used to be cinder roads. We spent a lot of time pushing cars out. We had a lot of risk to employees, and this is something that you funded basically since 2009 to the tune of about $5,000 a year for gravel. And as you can see, it's made a big difference over the long run. The internment shelter's been enclosed. We had some problems there with vagrancy and damage and everything else, and I think we talked to you at the time we were getting ready to enclose it last year at our update. Not everybody's completely happy with this. It's hot inside now in the summertime, so we may have to look into getting some fans or something for this building, but just so you know, that's if anybody talks about that, this is the building they're talking about, and it's free to use for funeral homes and individuals that want to have a ceremony undercover during bad weather, either rainy days or cold days or windy days. The new cemetery maintenance building, you see we've been doing our prep. This is the new road back into that area. If you were driving down Elmwood, heading north, right after you drove past Miller Warehouses, there's a little corner of ground that is part of the cemetery that just kind of mowed. That's where the new maintenance building is going, and that is right down in here. We've already got the tube in the road, and I think the last slide, I'll show you the last slide. I actually have a shot of the where the building site will be with one of the corners of the building staked. So when we get that building built, does anybody know when that Quonset hut was built? I'm looking at you, Chris. Can you remember that not being there?
No.
Okay, so it's time. And thank you for
Insulted, did you realize?
thank you for funding a different building. I mean, it's this thing it was on its last leg 10, 15, 20 years ago. But it'll be demolished when the new building is fully usable and all the equipment and things that are stored in this building have been moved over to the new building, which that in itself may take a little while. There's a lot of stuff in here. Everything from Christmas lights to grass seed, you know. At that point, there's about 4/10 of an acre here, and we're going to tear this down, and you know, we'll clean this site up and have it ready to do something. At that point in time, we're going to want to get some direction from the council as to what you want us to do with this additional space in the cemetery. Staff has talked about it quite a bit. We think most of the ideas out there that we're hearing from people are a scattering garden for people that want to put ashes somewhere, a columbarium, which several of the churches have, which would also be a bit of a maintenance issue over the long run, but it obviously can be done. Cremains lots, which are a different size. Do we need to put in more standard lots and expand queue? Or do we want to do nothing with it and just hold it in reserve for the future? I mean, that's, we're going to be looking to you guys sometime in between now and 2 years from now, as to, what exactly do you want us to do with this? So I don't need any feedback now. I'm just giving you a fair warning that I'm going to be coming for it. And see this stake? This is the site where the new building's going to go, off of Elmwood there. That dirt pile that's on the other side of these trees is going to get moved back over in this area over here. So it should improve the looks of the cemetery dramatically by the time we move the dirt pile and tear down the Quonset hut. Hopefully we'll be providing a better service for families than we were before. So that's what I've got for you. Any questions?
I'm glad to hear that, because I'd heard some people talk about the interment building and it being hot.
Yeah, we're between a rock and a hard place. If we leave it open like it used to be, people can't have a ceremony because some person that was high was in it last night and just absolutely.
Oh yeah, we knew that needed to be closed.
So it's kind of, the building wasn't designed to be closed. So yeah, it's hot. We'll try to figure something out, but it's going to be an uphill battle to cool it off in the summertime when it's hot, because it's got a closed roof space, and once that heats up, it's going to be.
It would have been easier if you did maybe one of those, like almost like a garage door, so they could have put it up.
Yeah, we looked at those. And the reality of today's world is that, we could open the doors during the day, but we can't, because we'll find people in there, and we'll actually have a lot of people in at night that are asleep unless they come in and inspect and make sure there's nobody in it. And it's unfortunately the world that my staff lives in. So we'll try to find some better solution, but it may not be easy. So
Pool prices stay the same?
yes, at this point, yes. There may be a point where that has to be examined. And, I think our chlorine prices are going to be pretty static this year. But, with our wage load going up, if that continues to rise, that's, because we designed our price around the 12, if it were to go to 15 or something, then we'd probably have to raise prices, or if our material, operational materials cost went up enough, maybe. I think for now, we can probably handle the inflation via the concession stand, because as products go up, we'll be able to charge more there, and that'll mask some of our issues on the other side of operations. But the wages side of it, I don't really have any other way to handle wages, Steve. Is that fair?
Yeah, on the water side, are you looking for You looking to get a price and get donations, or are you looking to work that into the budget?
No, we're looking to get a price and get donations.
Okay.
That's been our goal all along. If the community really wants it, and we heard from a lot of people during design that people really wanted a water slide, at all the meetings I said, well, we'll design something, we'll find out what it costs, and that's why we planned the piping and stuff, is because we had a lot of public comment during design that people wanted that.
Any idea what the cost might be within
I'd say
$50,000?
right about 500,
Okay.
which is what we were shooting for, at the beginning of the project. So,
More questions? Thank you, Chad, for your
thank you all.
information. This time we have the approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Williams?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Next item under resolutions, Bill number 2022-12, a resolution adopting the residential refuse rates covering anticipated cost of sanitation services beginning April 1, 22. Mr. Flagel.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. In April of 2014, the city began a 10-year sanitation contract with Danes Waste Disposal. And each year in April, that contract includes pricing adjustments. Staff has taken into consideration that pricing with the services along with the other operating expenses related to sanitation services, and we are now ready to present a rate, and the Finance Department did a summary of the anticipated expenses for the next 12 months beginning April. And we have those calculations which I'll go over, but most of those additional fees also include household hazardous waste collection, part of the brush yard operation, spring and fall cleanups, and so that's all included in the analysis as well. As a part of the analysis, the estimated annual operations for the sanitation department, $677,586. And if you take that divided by the average residential accounts, that equals that we would need $155.41 per year per each account. And then when you divide that out on a 12-month cycle, that comes out to approximately $12.95 per month. Last year's rate was $12.47. And so this equates to a 3.85% increase in rate. During the budgeting time, we estimated to be 5%, so we were able to come in below what we thought we would be. And of course, in addition to the base rate, there's also a fuel cost adjustment that is made part of the monthly service as well with the contract. Council, there are some additional charts in here, and I won't go over all of those unless you have any questions. But I think the important point to make out of some of these is that the survey of additional municipalities within the area, as far as their rates go, and the average rate for services for sanitation from all those communities is $15.97, and of course we're at $12.95, so we're still below the average considerably. And when we even look at some of the services that the other cities provide, they don't do they don't do the household hazardous waste and some of those things that we do. So therefore, unless you have any questions, council, we would recommend the council proceed with reading by title only and passage of the attached resolution, setting the monthly base rate for sanitation services at $12.95 with a fuel cost adjustment cap rate, which could go to $13.84. But if that would happen, that would make diesel prices $6-7 a gallon. We hope we never see that. And so that would be for the next 12-month period starting April 1 of 2022.
So just read that, or do you have to include all the gas rate, everything in there?
Just the title of the resolution.
Title. I make a motion to read bill number 2022-12.
Second.
Williams?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Bill number 2022-12, a resolution adopting residential refuge rates covering sanitation services beginning April 1st, 2022. I move for passage of bill number 2022-12.
Second.
Williams?
Yes.
Hay?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Shepherd?
Yes.
Next item, bill number 2022-13, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an environmental remediation oversight letter of agreement for the Brownfield Voluntary Cleanup Program on AP Green, formerly Shamrock site. Mr. Fleck.
Yes, Your Honor. As one of the things that has been presented to us from Realtors that would help us be able to move this site forth, they've indicated that it's important that we have a clean site, and therefore the EPA guidelines being met and notifying people that we don't have any contamination issues. So that is the program that we're dealing with, and to cover it in more detail, I will turn to Russell Runch.
Good evening, Council. Yes, this process has already begun because the previous owner of Shamrock Proppants, the green site, Mr. O'Brien, explained to us that he had started this, handed it over to us once we were the new owners, and we've continued the program. The property has been accepted into the environmental remediation program, Brownfield Voluntary Cleanup Program for the remediation of contaminants, under the review and oversight of the MDNR. Acceptance into the program is based on information related to the site that is known to the MDNR at the time the application was submitted. The LOA, or the Letter of Agreement, between DNR and the City of Mexico is for DNR's review of documents and oversight of remediation of hazardous substances at 600 Green Boulevard in Mexico. The initial deposit was made by Shamrock and due to the city acquiring ownership of the property. Change of application, which is what this letter of agreement is about, an initial deposit fee will be waived. DNR will send a final billing letter prior to the certification of completion letter being issued. DNR's document review and oversight costs will include personnel and expense costs plus indirect costs as stated in the agreement. DNR's expenses will be billed quarterly for a final billing letter sent prior to the certificate of completion letter being sent. In the event that contaminants remain at the site, unrestricted land use levels at the conclusion of the project, an environmental covenant to the Missouri Environmental Covenant Act shall be required as part of the risk management plan. A one-time long-term stewardship fee of $15,000 will be assessed. If more than one environmental covenant is utilized, a $15,000 fee will be assessed on the first environmental covenant, and then each subsequent environmental covenant will be assessed at the fee ranging from $5,000 to $15,000, depending upon the requirements of the engineering and/or institutional controls utilized. Costs associated with the environmental remediation for this project will be paid through the Economic Development Fund. Staff recommends the council proceed with reading by title only and passage of the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the environmental remediation letter. The engineer that we've been working with on this, who began the project for Mr. O'Brien, said that the typical fee is $15,000 to $15,000. It's usually not more than that. And basically it's to allow the DNR to come on the site and make sure that we're not doing anything that we aren't supposed to be doing on it.
So what, they do it, we pay $15,000. DNR comes on, does not approve it, we go to another covenant and have to pay some more money for it to get cleaned up again, or?
We've already done the monitoring wells. They know what they've got. We've already got the environmental covenant. This is kind of going backwards. The process has already been done. Drew's already overseen the wells. The wells have been monitored and stopped and closed.
Okay.
And they only found, I think, one area that they felt had any kind of significant issue to it. So that's the only environmental covenant, unless they come back and find something else, which I don't think that they will.
So the monitoring and the testing's all been done. So we're of the opinion it's a one-time issue now.
Okay. But it can be more than one time.
It could be. If there's something that ultimately comes up that we're not aware of.
Okay. But, I mean, if we get to a point where we have a buyer, then, like, it's all going to be free, it'll be out of our hands, and we'll be released of all, anything, DNR will release us from anything, it will not be liable for anything after said all this stuff's done, the cleanup and everything else is done.
That's why we're trying to get this certification to say that it's clean and ready to be sold.
Okay.
And it might allow us to access some additional funds for some of the other property, other buildings.
Pleasure of the board.
I move for the first reading of bill number 2022-13.
Second.
Williams?
Yes.
Hay?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Bill number 2022-13, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an environmental remediation oversight letter of agreement for the Brownfields Voluntary Cleanup Program on the AP Green, former Shamrock Propence site. I move for passage of bill number 2022-13.
Second. Yes.
Williams? Hay?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Next, other business appointment to Mexico Parks Board. This is a city manager appointment. Mr. Slagle.
Yes, Your Honor. Mike Koulis's term expires June 2021, and he has now expressed interest in reappointment for an additional 3-year term. We also have a vacancy on the board due to a resignation, and that is for a term that would expire in June of 23. We did receive 2 applicants expressing interest, obviously, for the unexpired term. Those individuals is Josh Price and Janice McIntosh. So at this time, council will separate these, and I would make the appointment of Mike Koulis for an additional 3-year term for reappointment, and I'd ask the council for a motion to concur with that appointment.
I move that we concur with that appointment.
Second.
Williams?
Yes.
Hay?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Now, for the unexpired term, we had the 2 applicants, and at this time, I would make the appointment of Josh Price and ask the council concur with that appointment.
Second.
You gotta make the motion.
I make a motion for Josh Price in the Mexico Park Board.
Second.
Williams?
Yes.
Hay?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Next is payment of the claims.
I move we pay the bills.
Second.
Williams?
Yes.
Hay?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Next are council comments, so begin with Mr. Hague.
Busy time. Congratulations to the wrestlers. They competed at state, and the place finishers. Girls finished up conference champs, I guess, in basketball, and boys are still rolling. So busy time. Spring sports start today, and hopefully by that means spring is coming and we'll be here. That'd be nice. The sun was nice to see today, so always good to have nice weather during track, so that helps. So that's all I have right now.
Mr. Williams.
I'll echo everything he said about all the sports, and congratulations to all the winners, and I wish the boys continued good luck in the basketball, and good job with the snow this time. I appreciate all the hard work. I know it was a lot this last few weeks, so that's all I got.
Mrs. Briggs.
Well, tomorrow's the first day of meteorological spring, and not necessarily the same one the sun spring, the solstice spring, but in any case, that's a good thought, and I'm hoping we hear peepers tomorrow night in my backyard. It's 70 degrees. So, but it's supposed to snow on Monday, so.
Yeah, I saw that.
But anyway, I think that's it. I can't think of it right. I had something else, but I can't think of it.
Dr. Shivers.
echo to everybody else. Chris Williams, did I see where your son did really good with the academic poll within, I think, since the last time that we met, so good luck to that. A lot of times we talk about the sports teams and forget some of the academic teams and what they're doing, and I think that's just as important. Thank you for everyone who came out to the chamber since the last time we were there. It was good seeing everyone. The Black History program yesterday at Presser was great. Good job to Joe Long for putting that on. And it's good seeing a nice turnout for that as well. So.
Mr. Schlegel.
Yes, at the last meeting, we had commented about that the elevator project would be beginning. They have now indicated that they are running behind and should hopefully be here later this week.
it's not done?
But we'll wait and see where that's at. But when they start, it's still a 3 to 4 week process, so we'll try to do what we can to notify people when that's working or not working.
Right.
Well, everybody said everything really good, and I'll just kind of go along with that. And I'll echo Dr. Shivers' comment. Joe Long did a fine job yesterday with Black History. And that's about it for me. At this time, we'll ask for public comments. If you'd like to make a public comment, please come to the podium, state your name and address. Try to hold your comment to 3 minutes. Seeing no one come forward, I move we adjourn.
Williams?
Yes.
Hay?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes?
Briggs? Yes. Shivers?
Yes.